Duke and UNC to follow on a full night of football here on ACC Network. So glad that you could make us a part of your Thursday evening, and we are underway in Cary, North Carolina. Florida State 13-2-2 on the year, 7-2-1 in the ACC. When they dropped those 2 straight matches, it was the first time they had done something like that since 2019. This is a team that is just not used to losing games.
Yeah, no, they're not in Florida State. But at the same time, when you do lose games, it is all about the adjustments you make. How do you react to that? And it speaks exactly to what we've been talking about, Marion's report, but then also just a shift in formation that Florida State has gone with. Now it's allowing them to get more numbers around Dudley, because the one thing that we do know is she's consistently a threat on that front line for Florida State. They needed to get players around her because teams were double teaming her, and then it also allows them to still have some support behind the ball with those 3 center backs.
Wake Forest held Florida State to just 1 goal the first time that they played each other. They have only conceded 11 times this season with Duke. That's the fewest goals allowed in the ACC. Sophia Wynn. Carissa Beckman, the Texas A&M transfer, who has really held down that holding midfield spot. Made 30 starts in 3 years for G. Guerreri and the Aggies. Playing in her 79th game tonight. Broke the wings to a streaking Soleil Washington. That's going to bound over the end line for a goal kick.
Well, it's going to be interesting these first 10, 15 minutes for both teams. Florida State mentioned the momentum, the rhythm that they found, won the last 6 games. So they have a lot of momentum coming into this semifinal game, and I expect them to be direct, push the pace like we've already seen, press higher up the field. So it's going to be really important right now for Wake Forest at times just to weather this storm and then be able to build into the game, because it's a Wake Forest team that has been able to keep possession. They've been able to press, turn teams over higher up the field, but they have to pick their moments to not leave themselves exposed defensively against Florida State.
It's an unusually muggy night for early November here in North Carolina as well. High humidity, and the temperature's around 80 degrees at kickoff. So that might be a factor as you get further and further into the match, though these teams are both extremely fit. Kaya Hanks is trying to get on the ball. Team high and career high, 8 goals, 7 assists for her this year. They'll get out to Beckman. Sarah Scythe. The far side for Emily Colton. She's kind of been the Robin to Hanks' Batman. Hanks was a first teamer in the All-ACC, and Colton on the second team, 6 goals and 5 assists, wearing number 3 in gold. Dudley on the ball for the first time. Jordan Dudley. Hansbrough has to play it all the way back to Valentina Amaral, the starting keeper for Wake Forest, making her 11th start.
But we're already seeing from Wake Forest what they like to do. As soon as the ball is turned over higher up the field, they're going to try to press this Florida State team. Just need to make sure that they keep possession when they do win it, because otherwise Florida State's going to look to be extremely direct in these moments right here.
Taylor Huff, and just at the last, that one was cleared away by Zara Travoshi, member of the All-ACC second team. She really holds down the middle of that back line, doesn't she?
Yeah, she allows them to take a few more risks. Obviously, this is a new formation, so one of the things is those 3 center backs are most likely going to stay home tonight, not take a lot of risks in their positioning, allow to get support back, and at times just drop off, not press this Florida State team to condense and concede some of the space in behind.
Cameron Simmons looking for a little bit of it. That one was threaded in, looking for Marianela Jimenez, the senior Venezuelan. Scored last game against Notre Dame in the ACC tournament first round. Also played for Venezuela at the U20 World Cup, helped them to their first ever point in the group stage. One of 6 players here for Florida State that participated in the Under-20 World Cup. So that has been an adventure trying to get everybody back, Lori, because it's a real chemistry thing when you've got players missing multiple matches going with their country and then trying to just get everything back and rolling, even for a team like Florida State with their skill.
Well, I think also when you just look at the length of this season, it's not a very long college season. In fact, it's much more of a sprint. And you don't get everybody back, and you can't get a rhythm until early October, just about a month ago. It's always going to be a challenge, but important for them to be able to shift the mentality, shift formations, and now start to find the rhythm that we're used to seeing this Florida State team in. And that's something that Wake Forest is going to have to be really mindful of. Yes, they won earlier on in the season, but they know this is a completely different team. So they're going to have to stay patient at times, not take so many risks, but then pick their moments, when to step up, press. Very much what we've been accustomed to see for Wake Forest this season.
I remember looking at that scoreline when we played Florida State, and I said that
exactly
something in the HTML isn't right here, right? 4 goals conceded. I mean, when does that ever happen with Florida State?
No, but you look at that performance, and it's an excellent performance by Wake Forest. And I think the entire season, just really good balance in the way that they've approached. Even Tony DeLuz, their head coach, talked about coming in the spring and just really building momentum last spring. Got a lot of veteran leadership in this Wake team. So they've had a lot of balance. They've had a lot of confidence throughout this season. And that win over Florida State earlier just would have added to that confidence and their ability to believe that they can win this tournament and go far in postseason play.
Well, Wake Forest has so many big wins this year as well. The only team that's ever beaten number 1 and number 2 on back-to-back weekends. And now Hanks has an acre of space, but walled off by Mimi Van Zanten. Number 17, the left center back for Florida State. Here's Emily Murphy, the Irish international. Cuts into the box. Murphy, what a shot and a save. Kick save and a beauty from Addie Todd.
Well, how good was this move from Murphy? 4 goals on the season so far, and a lot of it is because she just picks her moments when she's going to attack. This time she just finds herself out wide, but just a little change of pace right there. I thought maybe she should have gone for the far post instead. Cuts it back to the near post. Makes it a bit easier for Todd to make the kick save in the end. But well done from Murphy to get isolated 1v1 on this near side and then go 1v1.
First time that Todd has suited up in this building. Wake Med Soccer Park can kind of inspire awe when it comes to college venues. Todd, of course, backing up the terrific Christina Roque last year, now in the NWSL. But here's how quick Florida State is. Jimenez on the counter. Has some help with Washington. There's Dudley to the right. Dudley cuts to the outside. Dudley stays with it, and it's popped up in the air, and Amaral's not able to save it. Gonna be a corner coming up for Florida State. Their first of the match.
Well, it shows us just how quickly Florida State can go from defense to offense. Just 1 or 2 passes, all of a sudden they're in their attacking half, and Dudley's the player that they won on the ball inside the 18-yard box. Their ability to go 1v1, change of pace. Ainsborough does well to come over, cross the field, go to ground, and make sure that she doesn't get a good look on frame. Dudley.
Here's Ron Iwai, the 5th-year player, originally hailing from Tokyo. 3-year starter. Sends in the outswinger, and that is easily dealt with by Wake Forest and Emily Colton. Iwai looking to recycle. All alone win. Huff. It's clean. Van Zanten pushing it back towards the box, and that one was dealt with by Chavoshi.
Well, and just that last play, Alex, will be really interesting because changing formations, not being completely comfortable in the 3-back. You're going to see Huff here trying to direct traffic.
And she's going to earn a free kick in a very dangerous position here for Huff and Florida State.
Yeah, she does really well because Huff is a player that they won on the ball. Looking to see if she can play off of Dudley. Look to see if she can play off Washington higher up the field. There she is. You can see her pointing, saying, hey, somebody make the run in behind. Instead, it's brought down. But just going back to that previous comment, who's going to step out in this formation? Who's going to press the ball carrier, the runners inside the 18-yard box? A little bit slow on that last corner kick for Florida State for Wake Forest defensively. So all of these questions have to be cleaned up early in this game defensively for Wake Forest.
Huff and EY standing over it as our center official, Nicole Green, sets up the wall. It's going to be Huff, and that one is hit to Amaral.
Well, we know Huff can hit from that distance. Doesn't get enough on it to get up and over the wall and really test Amaral, but well done for Huff being the one that's driving, drawing the attention, and drawing the foul ultimately.
Lori, if you're Tony DeLuz, does it make you lose a little sleep switching your formation against a team like Florida State this late? Jimenez, off the crossbar. Marianella Jimenez testing Amaral and the Wake Forest goalkeeper.
Well, and I think this is the difficult thing of playing against Florida State is because they have so many threats. You've got Jimenez that just gets faced up. Look, she comes back to the ball, then gets the angle that she wants by facing up. Sees that maybe she can catch Amaral off her line. That one just grazes the top crossbar. Good look from Jimenez, but they have so many threats in the attack, whether it's 1v1, whether it's shots from distance. But to go to your question about Tony DeLuz, yeah, I think there is. You're trying to find ways, right, to make little differences, make adjustments in a conference that's the most competitive in the country, and there's such fine margins. So how do you gain an advantage? And you know, one of the things that he mentioned to us was the 3 losses that they've had this season all came when they played against 3 backs, and they're not sure exactly why. Yes, maybe it's just the coverage that teams have defensively. Can't get numbers around those players to really cause problems with their press.
Is it finding more pockets of space with that 2
Yeah,
front?
depending, because really, we can talk about formations all the time. It's just about finding the angles and how quickly you can get the angles of support and where you can get a numerical advantage. But regardless, they've struggled. So they felt like mirroring this Florida State team was going to be their best bet tonight. But as you can see, they've been under a lot of pressure, and it really depends. The easy clearance there for Wake Forest, but it really depends on what the communication is like early on to who's going to press, who's going to support behind the play. And at moments like this, when Florida State is going to send a lot of players forward, they just got to be patient defensively, pick their moments when they can counter.
These are both teams that really want to be on the ball as well. Fall season rolls on, and we'll have the Field Hockey Championship match tomorrow at noon Eastern with the men's soccer quarterfinals Sunday starting at 2 Eastern. The semifinals next Thursday beginning at 5:30. ACC Network is the home of ACC Championships. North Carolina and Boston College, that championship game in field hockey. First appearance there for the Eagles since 2019, and UNC seems to be there and in the national championship game every single year. And it hasn't changed under Erin Matson in her second year when Karen Shelton retired, and Matson got the job right out of playing. Really crazy story. Sophia Wynn looking to feed Dudley. Intercepted by Abby Colton. A lot of space right now for Sierra Seif. Morris on the wing. Greeted by Gilchrist. Back to the middle. And how much can Kaya Hanks get on the ball? That is a huge collision between Dudley and Hanks. Dudley just lowering the shoulder and lowering the boom on Hanks there.
Well, at first glance, I really thought this was a 50-50 ball. And right here, I feel like both players are going and trying to make the play. Dudley gets the better of Hanks.
Dudley got there first.
Yeah, I actually think this should have just been allowed to be played on, but you understand Dudley getting a little bit of the momentum and just how much Hanks went to ground. Gets the foul, Hanks, but this sets up for a dangerous free kick, and well done from Dudley, though, to work back, help out defensively to try to make the play.
Addie Todd setting up the defense. See everyone crowding on the edge of that 18-yard box. Huff got to it first. Pop back into the mixer. Van Zanten watches it. And Florida State survives what could have been a really dangerous situation for Wake.
Well, these are the moments where Wake really want to take advantage of. They're in their attacking half. And one thing that they're going to have to take a look at is, do they want to go 1v1 against this Florida State team consistently? Can they move it a bit quicker, keep some possession, then look for some of the combination play? One of the things I really like about Murphy up top is she does slow down the rhythm at times and just allows them to get more numbers into the attack. So utilizing her a bit earlier, then allow for players underneath to join in is going to be crucial for them to get players higher up the field.
From our vantage point, I mean, you can really see Wake Forest setting up that 3-5-2 and exactly where all the space is. It looks just like the diagram, honestly. Little over a quarter hour gone, still looking for the breakthrough here in a match that earlier on this saw 5 different goals, 4 of them on the Wake Forest side, and it was another notch in the belt for Tony DeLuz and Medina Deacons, who come in with the number 7 RPI in the country. Gilchrist starts the offense herself as they go direct over the top. Washington on the chase. Gets to it just in front of Chavoshi. Washington. Huff. Huff again. This 3-back has been really good so far by Wake.
Well, it's not only the 3-back. I've just been watching Brown and Colton, number 6 and 33, right in front of the 3-back for Wake Forest, and they're going to have an incredibly important role this evening just to make sure they get connected, because if the instructions are for those 3 center backs just to stay home for Tony DeLuz's side, then those 2 have to be connected. I already see if one's going to go out wide and help, the others have to drop in to that back line to help out defensively.
Chavoshi has really been everywhere. Washington trips her up, and she is going to be called for the foul. Soleil Washington, who missed a month because of a foot injury, but 4 of her 5 goals this season have come in the last 5 matches, so she's really finding her form late.
Well, I remember one of the things earlier on in this season that Brian Pinsky mentioned to us was that this is the relationship between her and Jordan Dudley, and once they went to a 2-front, who was going to be the best partnership to at least start the game, and Washington and Dudley complement one another. They want to play next to each other, and then you get Huff coming in behind. So not a surprise in terms of how well they've done to be able to find some momentum late in this season so far, especially with those 2 up top.
And this bench is so good for Brian Penske that they will be able to bring in 2 more under-20 World Cup U.S. players, Gianna Riley as well as Taylor Suarez. Switch for Wake. Here's Hansbrough. Sliding tackle away, Van Zanten. Huff lost it. Hanks has some help from Murphy. And there's Gilchrist. What doesn't she do for Florida State? Gilchrist, also a member of that U20 World Cup team, missing the first 6 matches, but I mean, does she hold down the middle of that 3-back, or does she?
Yeah, it's excellent work defensively, but also what does Hanks not do as well on the front line for Wake Forest, because she's the one that starts the press, trying to dispossess, puts Gilchrist in that position, and that's something they just have to be really mindful of defensively, Florida State, because those 3 center backs are going to have to deal with the press, especially when they try to build out in possession. Hanks, Murphy are going to be the 2 that are leading the line. The right moment, they'll look to step in and try to put them under pressure.
This here is for the right to face the winner of Duke and UNC, the 1 versus 4 seed, respectfully. That's on Sunday, noon Eastern on ESPNU, the championship match. And we've got that Tobacco Road rivalry for you, and we are finished here with our opener. But the opener might be better than the entree. You never know with these 2 teams, right?
Exactly. No, I think when we all saw the matchups, we had such a treat here with how well this conference has gone this season. There's really quality play across the board. We've seen the elevation of college soccer in general in terms of, okay, yes, teams can play direct, they can keep possession. It's a high level in terms of moving the ball quickly. Really, again, as we've said, and we'll continue to say because it's going to be on display, fine margins. Each team's going to make the other work just regardless of how the scoreline ends up.
And I think it's important to note, too, if you're just seeing these 2 and 4 teams eventually for the first time, this is not an NCAA tournament win and in situation. These 2 teams are very much in. This is a fight for a potential 1 seed and to make sure that you are home throughout the quarterfinals. All of these teams are going to be there to fight for a national championship. And honestly, you wouldn't be surprised if this was the College Cup when it's all said and done right back here in December.
I mean, you said it perfectly coming in. This could actually be tougher than the College Cup with these 4 teams. So, once again, just incredibly lucky we are to be able to witness these teams and just the quality that's on display.
Jog it all the way back, grab a sip, get ready. Head in.
Kristen Johnson. Dudley went down, but no call. Still on her knees, and now she finally does get up to her feet. Beckman playing it back to Cameron Simmons, who's funneled back to one of those 3 center backs in the 3-5-2. Reason for that, I mean, Brian Pensky says she's a defender at heart. She wants to get after it. Even though she can certainly score goals, and she does get forward. I mean, she's got 4 goals, 2 assists. 16 goals, 5 assists in her career, but number 19 for Florida State.
Well, I'm actually laughing because I remember asking them the exact same question. Is that by design because you need defenders back there? Because Van Zanten, we're so used to, even last season as a freshman, would get up, join into the attack because they would send their outside backs when they were in a 4-back higher up the field, almost as wing backs at times. I love that she's scrappy, wants to defend first, and been an important asset in this new formation that they're playing.
There's Simmons. Let's head it down to Marion on the field.
Yeah, guys, it's been a big-time numbers game over here on the near side. Right now for Wake Forest in their build-out, they're really trying to bait the wing backs of Florida State, with Emily Morris specifically checking down, pulling the wing back out of position so it can free up a bit more space for number 35 in goal, Emily Morris. And then on the flip side of that for Florida State, Lori, you alluded to it.
Washington carried away by Amaral. What a strike.
A huge save from Amaral, just to make sure that doesn't find the back of the net, because they've been under a lot of pressure from Florida State. We talked about the front 3, Dudley, Washington, Huff coming out of the midfield, but also Jimenez. So really the front 4. That time Washington, just a little bit of space to be able to free yourself up, but excellent strike.
Wake Forest finally able to clear it away. Here comes Hanks, though. Hanks had a little bit of help, but Van Zanten came in just at the last. Hey, Mary, you want to finish up your point?
Absolutely, and on the side for Florida State, it really is still about all the right-hand side. They really like to build through this right-hand channel. And Laura, you have to think, if they can just, you talked about the screening being so important for the low mids of Wake Forest, if they could pull some of those numbers out of the central space and potentially get a weak side run from someone like Beckman or Jimenez, a lot of space could be unlocked.
Dudley, did Washington stay on? The flag stays down for the moment, and it stays down. Huff, Dudley, and it was deflected into Amaral's hands.
Well, Wake Forest right now just defending, making sure they have loads of numbers and making it predictable for themselves. But I do like what Marion was just saying, and it goes back to the point that we were making previously, Alex. Just once they do win possession, can they start to combine a bit more, draw Florida State to one side, and then, as Marion said, go out the other, and that's when they're going to get more of the matchups in this formation that they're looking for. not afraid to take some risks right now, trying to play out of the back. And this is a Wake Forest team that isn't comfortable. They are comfortable in possession, but also know at times it's going to be about the transitional moments, just lacking a bit of quality to keep possession in important moments.
EY to Dudley, and the flag goes up. Just couldn't hold her run. So far, Florida State has been much more the aggressor. 5 shots to just 1 for Wake Forest, 3 of those on goal, and 3 pretty excellent saves by Amaral. But you know that in order for them to beat Florida State in a tournament-like setting, Amaral is going to have to sometimes stand on her head, isn't she?
Well, they're also going to have to just understand that they're not going to have all of the ball. As we've said a few different times, this is a Wake Forest team that has typically been the team that has dominated in possession. They're the ones that control the game with the ball, but that might not be the case. And when you talk about adaptability with this team, that's why they were comfortable, even if it kept Tony DeLuise up a bit at night. They're comfortable making this switch, and that's a good ball to play out wide to get the 1v1 situation that they're looking for in these wide channels. But at times, they're not going to have much of the possession with how much Florida State is going to send numbers forward. So be comfortable with that. Be comfortable without having the ball, and then once they do win it, you have to connect that first pass, or you have to be direct with your thinking in terms of looking for the ball over the top and trying to catch Florida State out defensively.
Washington. Jimenez bombing forward after she blasted one off of the crossbar. Really the best chance that Florida State had to put the ball in the back of the net. Colton. There's EY to intercept. Colton. The older Colton. Emily Colton, number 3. Abby Colton, number 33.
Yeah, really, really good step from Van Zanten. I was just looking at the setup for Florida State, and I think they could be more aggressive with their approach. You've got Wynn on one side, EY, they're almost dropping back to a 5-back. Those two can step up, be more aggressive, because if you're just playing a 2 front, and at times a 1 front for Wake Forest, you still have a numerical advantage on your back line. So send those players forward, be more aggressive. Don't allow Wake Forest to be able to build out comfortably or even find their wing backs. Get stuck in, put a tackle in quickly.
That's a great ball behind. Hanks into the zone, tackled away. Van Zanten did it well. Perfectly at that, inch perfect.
Yeah,
because that's a PK if she doesn't get that right.
You're exactly right, Alex, because if you're going to ground inside the 18-yard box, you got to be completely sure. And just look at the timing right here. The last second, just gets her foot in, gets all of the ball. Hank's momentum carries her over. Had to be sure about it, put in the tackle previously, higher up the field, had the confidence, uses her ability to get back, makes the play, and sends it out for a corner kick. Well done from Van Zanten on both sides.
Here's the first one for the Demon Deacons. Colton. Far post, Florida State's there. Second try, just wide. Murphy teeing it up on the volley.
Yeah, great technique, because you could see the top spin on that ball almost at the last second, just dipping in to that far post. The great look from our vantage point, almost looked like it was just rising the entire time. In the last second, you see, there it is. Just gets her footwork right, but last second, that's a good strike. Hits it incredibly well, just can't get the dip that she wants at the last second. I love the footwork to be able to adjust herself. Well done from Murphy.
And backing up to keep that near the bar, too. That's pretty outstanding. A hockey line change pretty much coming in here for Florida State. 4 different subs. Taylor Suarez, Peyton McGovern, Rihanna Hudson, and Ashlyn Puerta all checking in. Taylor Suarez was part of that U.S. under-20 team that captured bronze. 2-time North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year, number 9 in Garnet. And all of these players that are coming off the bench would be starters on pretty much every other team. And they are sometimes for Florida State as well. It's just such depth for Brian Penske. I wonder how you keep everybody happy, honestly.
Well, honestly, it was almost at times, even though they had some injuries as well, blessing in disguise, because asking that at the beginning of the season, they had no subs. I think they had like 14. That included a goalkeeper.
They did, yeah.
Of, total players available, with 6 players gone to the U20 World Cup. So it has been a challenge this season, to say the least. Again, only losing 2 games in that time period. Actually quite incredible how many important players that you were missing.
Here's Huff. She never comes off the pitch. Over the head of Dudley. Puerta running it down. Gets it in front of the flag. That's touched out by Scythe. Looking for a jolt of energy here for Florida State. Trying for the breakthrough. But offside is the call. Just under a quarter hour to go here in half number 1. Looking for our first goal. Our next men's basketball games right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. The Army-Duke connection renewed for the first time in 3 seasons. It's the Blue Devils and the Black Knights tomorrow, 6 Eastern, and then Tennessee-Louisville. That rivalry hasn't happened since 2018. They square off Saturday at noon Eastern. Duke has won all 8 of those meetings since the series was renewed in 1996. And of course, Coach K, the Army head coach before he went to Duke, so John Shire continues the tradition. Great to see, and always an honor to play one of the service academies.
Yes, Jimmy!
Beckman. Simmons looking direct for Hudson. Gonna let Rihanna Hudson run right onto that one. And no issues for Ansbro wearing that captain's armband, number 34, who is playing in her hometown, originally from right here in Cary. So probably a little bit extra special, even though she only plays her college soccer less than 2 hours away. What a setting this is, though. College Cup will be here as well in December, and kind of the unofficial home of the College Cup in a lot of ways, as well as the ACC tournament. It's like the perfect size stadium for this kind of event.
And it's fun to really hear the coaches and how excited he is for the players with Wake Forest. Haven't been here since 2021. Actually met Florida State in that semifinal game. So the seniors on this team will remember that. Want to try to get a little revenge from that night here tonight. And then for Florida State, as we all know, this is a team that has really set the standard of women's college soccer. So accustomed to that, but a lot of new faces as well, as Brian Penske had mentioned. So veteran players are going to lead them tonight in terms of understanding what it means in these particular moments.
I'm not quite sure how you break down Heather Gilchrist 1v1. It's seemingly impossible at the moment, because Scythe was there and just bodied off by Gilchrist, the junior from Boulder, Colorado, wearing number 20, and Garnet. She's like one of those unsung heroes. I think a lot of times center backs do get credit that they deserve, so everyone knows who she is. But even still, Brian Penske, we just told her, she carries herself like a boss, with confidence, with energy. Everyone really responds to that, too, on the team. It's going to be a Florida State foul coming that was drawn by the Seminoles, and a talking to as well by Chavoshi.
I don't think the fans are very happy about it either.
Some Knowles fans thought that might have been a card.
Right, and you can see Chavoshi just saying, hey, both of us are going in, much like the Hanks-Dudley situation prior. And you wonder if a little bit of that is maybe adding one back in favor of Florida State after calling Dudley on that shoulder-to-shoulder as well. Like, is both of those players going 50-50. Chavoshi's done well, though, at times when she's needed to come out of that center back role. She's timed it perfectly defensively.
Puerta. Well, half clearance that was deflected back into the middle. Finally, Murphy sends it away. And that is certainly an offside on Taylor Suarez.
Well, and still plenty of time left to go in this first half. But I think what's going to be interesting is what we're going to hear from Brian Penske going into halftime if the scoreline does stay the same, because just a bit more patience, whether that's Taylor Huff, Jimenez in the midfield, kind of dictating that tempo of when to look to be a bit more direct or when to play in the wide areas, because we've seen a number of offsides. We've seen a bit too many decisions being rushed to try to play a final pass. With the amount of numbers that Wake Forest has put in, especially the central areas defensively, it's not going to be easy for them to break down. So finding that second, third pass to really force Wake to have to chase a bit more and shift side to side is going to be crucial.
Well, we mentioned, Lori, just how difficult it is to win an ACC championship, especially this year, because all 4 of these teams are in the top 8 of the United Soccer Coaches poll. You're talking about half of them participating in this event. I would not want a game plan for any one of these teams with all the types of experience, especially that a Florida State team has, the 4-time defending ACC tournament champion. We know that the Demon Deacons have been one of the best at taking down Goliath the entire year. And then after this, you got UNC with an interim head coach for Anson Dortz in Damon Nahas, who has just picked up exactly where he left off, and the outgoing Robbie Church, who in his last season in Durham is having the best year he ever has had with the Blue Devils.
Yeah, and I look at it as like, in terms of the big picture, these 2 teams in particular, shifting the formation, comfortable in a variety of different ways that they attack and defend, are only going to be crucial once they get into the NCAA tournament as well, because you're going to face teams that you're not used to seeing. So how do they defend? How do they play against you is going to be a question that they're going to have to answer. But then also that rivalry that we're going to see next, always an opportunity to see 2 teams battle it out that love and hate each other, I should say.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's a lot of love.
That's true.
There is certainly a ton of hate.
A lot of respect, I should say.
Definitely a lot of respect. I mean, 1, 3, 6, and 8 playing here this weekend in this tournament tonight. It really is quite a showcase here for women's college soccer in Cary, North Carolina. So for Florida State, Gianna Riley will enter. The other one of those substitutes that played in the U.S. Under-20 World Cup. Chavoshi with a necessary clearance, but it's over the back line for a Florida State corner. It'll be number 2.
An opportunity right now for Wake Forest just to make sure they don't concede late in this first half, and under a lot of pressure defensively, but held strong.
Corner kick from Florida State, number 30.
Made some things predictable for themselves. Going to have to find ways that they can get a bit more time on the ball to slow the pace down.
Puerto with the outswinger. Good ball in. Unsettled. Huff back in, but it's Johnson getting to it first. Into the mixer once again. Hudson tees it up. And a host of gold and black down to send it away. That's good team defense.
Well, that's what I love about Wake Forest. They're not afraid to get dirty, not afraid to go to ground. They're going to work hard for one another. And one of the reasons why I say they have to find moments where they can get more possession and stop defending as much is because they also have a ton of quality in the attack. We just haven't seen it. And they're willing to put in the work to win the first and second balls higher up the field. That's where this Florida State team could potentially be most vulnerable. Just haven't been under enough pressure so far in this first half.
There's Amaral after the service from Suarez. Looking to go quick, but it was closed down. Amaral only made 1 start last year, but the sophomore from Oviedo, Florida, now her 11th. She has only conceded 7 times this year. I mean, Wake, again, only giving up 11 goals. Right up there with some of the best in the country, though no one has touched the SEC's the Mississippi State Bulldogs, conceding just 4 times. That was coming into the week, so whatever they did in Pensacola could have affected that, but both conferences in action this Thursday night. Here in the ACC, we're still looking for the breakthrough. Wake Forest and Florida State, a match that was a 4-1 final in favor of the Demon Deacons, has had a very different feel. Did Hudson stay on? Yes, she did. Hudson played back to the middle. Mistake on the clearance. Suarez, Hudson looking for a 1-2 game. Got it back, but Chavoshi sends it to the wide side. Here's Murphy. Hanks can get on the ball. Outnumbered, and Gilchrist earns the throw-in.
Well, they've done a really good job, Florida State, on Hanks. They've known that she's going to be the main threat. As Murphy comes down and collects the ball underneath, it'll be Hanks that's looking to stretch, pull out the back line, and it's just that little interchange between the two of them that typically causes a lot of trouble for back lines. But so far, Florida State, the timing, the understanding of who's going to say, they just made their decisions easy and early to not allow Hanks to have much of an impact in this game so far.
Are you surprised at all by how much Florida State has been on the ball in the first half?
No, I'm not, because 6 straight wins coming into this game, finally have had time to be able to work, play more games together. The connections, the understandings between the partnerships all around are just starting to form and become more solidified. And this is a team that wants to play with energy. They want to make the opposition uncomfortable, so it's not surprising. It's just that lack of quality right now in terms of whether it's decision making or just the final pass, the final shot is letting them down.
Even with that lack of consistency with injuries and national team call-ups, I mean, 55 goals, most in the ACC. Third highest total in the country between Arkansas and Utah State. So again, there is just a wealth of talent out there, and sometimes chemistry, I mean, it certainly helps, but sometimes it's not everything when you've got such good players.
I think the one thing, though, that we've seen, and this is why I say the decision-making has to be a bit better, because Wake Forest game plan, this is a drop coming into this game.
Murphy has some help. Murphy on Beckman. Nice ball out wide. Saif looking for a back post run, and Murphy wasn't there.
So if their game plan is to drop, concede the space in behind, then where is the space? And most likely that is between the 3 center backs and the 2 holding mids for Wake Forest. If not, it's out wide. Then you have to look to serve balls, but the recognition has to come a little bit quicker for Florida State.
Our Week 11 ACC Network football lineup beginning tomorrow night, 8 Eastern. Cal squaring off against Wake Forest. Saturday, NC State and Duke, and then Virginia and number 18 Pitt. That's at 8 each game. Also available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Panthers trying to bounce back from their first loss of the season, now 7-1, falling at SMU. They had a big win over Syracuse a couple weeks ago. They hadn't lost in the ACC yet. 2.5 minutes left here in Cary. Getting closer and closer to the break, and the last thing, of course, either team is going to want to do is concede late here in this first 45, because they have been so stout defensively, specifically Wake, in this first half. Dempsey Brown up the gut and earns Wake Forest a free kick. Simmons is going to be called for it for Florida State. This could be dangerous now for the Demon Deacons here with 2 minutes to go.
That's good movement from Murphy, just to recognize that she wants the ball to her feet, pulls out Simmons. A bit too aggressive on the approach, but this is what I was talking about in terms of once they do establish a little bit of possession, it can be dangerous because you got the interchange, you got the movement, especially from the strikers of Wake Forest, that can cause some problems higher up the field.
This spot, though, is very central, not going to have much of an angle. Trevoshi's going to try to go over the top here. Or she'll go for goal. Addie Todd really needed to be up to the challenge there. I think that surprised everybody from the distance she was at.
Well, excellent work from Todd to make sure that she keeps a hold of it. Looked like she's going to bobble at the last second because it did take a slight deflection. A wonderful strike, though, from distance from Shavoshi to keep it low. There's the deflection. Difficult to see who that was off of. Maybe it looked like Gilchrist in the end, just the player hanging behind the wall. Todd does well to see it the entire way, keeps a hold of it, doesn't give up the rebound because it's Murphy that was coming in late to try to get something on the end of it.
Yeah, that could have been a real adventure. 45 seconds left here in the first half. Halftime, we'll take another look at the bracket. We will preview that Tobacco Road rivalry matchup as well. For the 3rd time this season. As if in his final year, Robbie Church hadn't seen the Tar Heels enough in his career.
I think he welcomes it, though.
I mean,
Lovely.
if you're a Duke or North Carolina head coach and you don't look forward to that matchup, you're really not in the right school, are you?
And he's doing it with a smile on his face, just embracing, enjoying the last season. And my goodness.
What doesn't Robbie Church do with a smile on his face, right?
Good point. I'd be smiling too if I scored 15 goals last year and all of a sudden I have 53 this season.
The biggest turnaround in Division I, 8 more wins this year than last season, finishing under 500.
10,
Hard to believe.
8,
And Duke, the #1 team in the country.
6,
Time winds down here in the final 45, and they won't even really put it back into play.
0.
And so 45 minutes down, and we're still looking for our first goal.
Of the 2024 Ally ACC Women's Soccer Semifinals.
I think exactly what we expected. A Wake Forest team to sit back a bit more, at least always have coverage behind the ball defensively to make it a bit more difficult for Florida State. And Florida State trying to push numbers forward is just that last pass, that last decision that's letting them down in terms of quality. So if they can clean that up and start to force Wake Forest to have to defend and make more decisions defending.
And that is a number that is very impressive when you talk about it in terms of the entire country as well. 3rd highest behind Arkansas and Utah State. So far, throughout 135 minutes between Florida State and Wake this year, Demon Deacons have only conceded 1 time against these Seminoles. Is that going to continue, or is it going to be Florida State moving on to the championship game and looking for their 5th straight? I mean, that really is the most impressive number in this type of conference where you've got, I mean, perennial powers in Virginia and Duke and North Carolina, a Clemson who was a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament last year. And the fact that the Seminoles have been able to figure it out for 4 straight years and for 2 different coaches at that. It's a great early opportunity. Dudley cutting back. Dudley still, and finally Colton sends it away.
Well, this is the only thing that Wake Forest, because we talked about how good they've been defensively, the back 3, the 2 holding mids helping screen as well. But when the game starts getting opened up and Dudley can start running at you, immediately you see how dangerous Florida State can be. So if they're going to start to push players forward, Marion alluded to that as well, if they're going to want to get some numbers into the attack in this formation, Wake Forest, they're going to take some more risks, but that leaves them susceptible to those quick attacks, and Dudley at the heart of that last one.
Whipped into the side of the net. Sophia Wynn. And I think one thing that Jordan Dudley can't do throughout this match is can't get frustrated with the lack of attempts, because she's getting into the box. I mean, she is working really hard in there, but you just have to know that Wake closes it down so well.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen her, even last year as a freshman, ever get frustrated. She knows it's just about picking her moments,
right,
when to almost try to lure the back line to sleep and then go. I think she's excellent at doing that, as we just saw. Case in point, just looks to make the run in behind, but at times she'll look to get the ball to her feet. So has also a lot of tools to be able to break down, even if she's getting double teamed.
Dudley, last year's ACC Freshman of the Year and NCAA Tournament Offensive Most Outstanding Player. She was so good. 4 goals and 2 assists in the tournament last year. And that included a goal in not a very close match against Stanford in the national championship. First of 2 matches here tonight. Next up, Duke and North Carolina. That's kind of all you need to say, especially when it's the ACC tournament. EY. Held up by Dudley. That's got to be a foul. It is. Pushed down by Dempsey Brown for Wake Forest.
And look, you have Ainsborough, then you have Dempsey Brown coming. There's 3-4 players for Wake Forest around Dudley. But what that says to me is that there's another player that's free for this Florida State team. So it's about finding that other player quickly. There's going to be so much attention on Dudley whether it's Washington, whether it's Huff or even Jimenez, the two attacking midfielders for Florida State, have to find those angles to be able to get on the ball quickly.
Van Zanten. Brian Penske told us at times they are going to have to be more direct and use that speed behind the line. A whistle going on Florida State, and now we're going to have either a talking to from Carissa Beckman, or maybe we might even have our first booking here from Nicole Green. It doesn't look like it.
I know, you can see what she's saying. That's not a foul. That's not a foul, but then there's some laughs. So it's good to see that there's smiles down there, but you can see the frustration because both of these teams want to be a bit physical in their style of play, and at times just allow them to play on.
I like that the referee was summoning Carissa over. She's like, no, I don't want to hear it. I'm good. She's like, no, I need to talk to you. They do have the final word, the center officials. Colton. Beckman in her hip pocket every step. Back out to the far side. There's Morris. Hanks. Switch read by Ewai. Couldn't keep it in there.
But right idea, because that time you get Colton going in behind from the attacking midfield position, then Hanks drops in. Those are the interchanges that do cause problems, and if the communication is not at the right time and spot on, that's when you give yourself a little bit more time. Hanks trying to play this ball to the near side to switch to play. Just gets picked off by Ewai, but I love that idea, and that's how they're going to be able to break down and force Florida State to have to defend a bit more.
Washington tripped up, and she's going to earn the whistle for the Noles. Emily Morris, who scored in that 4-1 win over Florida State. 33 meeting between these two teams, though, and Wake Forest leading 14, 13, and 5. It's as tight as it gets when you talk about a series history. Their first meeting all the way back in 1995. Jimenez, who clanked off the crossbar with the strike earlier in that first half. Washington goes down. It doesn't get the benefit of the whistle there. Florida State wants to play such a wide game, too. Anyway, all the way on the sideline. Jimenez pokes it to Dudley. Cuts in, just a little bit too firm with the touch. Ewai now. Jimenez. Back post. Wynn couldn't get there.
Yeah, I love that idea. You can just see Jimenez just trying to clip it to the far post with a little bit of texture on it. But it's the best buildup that we've seen from Florida State. Starts low, you get Huff dropping down. Then you get Ewai on the ball coming from a wide position, looking to see if she can play in behind. All the movement, it's better. Once again, though, just that final pass letting them down.
You're maybe starting to see that creativity a little bit more now for Florida State in the final third. Dudley. Huff. Just not the right weight, and I'm not sure that Jimenez would have had much to do there anyway. Huff, who's been all conference every season. She was a first teamer all ACC this year. She's only sat 4 minutes in the last 3 matches. Dudley with the Meg. Dudley. Huff! There's the opener for Florida State. Taylor Huff's 11th goal of this season. And the march to a potential 5th ACC tournament championship in a row rolls on.
With that goal, Ryan is nominating.
Well, just keep your eye on Dudley in this moment, because she's the one that sets Huff up for this opportunity, and this is so well taken. There's the throw in, and just the little hesitation and allowing for Dudley to be able to allow that ball to come across her. But I love that from Dudley. She doesn't force it. We've been talking about the composure, the more quality in the final third. That starts with Dudley, just pulls it back, finds Huff coming, and then side foots it into that far post. What an excellent finish that is for Huff. But it's the weight of the pass, the decision from Dudley that allows her to take it first time and just place it for the first goal of the night.
The opener in the 53rd minute for Huff. Who else started her career as the SEC Freshman of the Year with Brian Penske at Tennessee, then comes over to Florida State and has dominated in her new conference as well. Dudley looking to thread it through to Jimenez.
And there's been a lot more space for this Florida State team. They wear teams down. They can go direct, but then it's just that last second when they need it most. Dudley pulls it back, finds Huff. And we've said it time and time again, Alex, about the fine margins, just looking for those moments. And if somebody doesn't track, if somebody doesn't stay touch tight defensively, Huff at the heart of it again. She's the one that's trying to get in behind. Actually, excuse me, it's Washington that's running at the back line.
And there's our first booking of the match as Dempsey Brown takes down Soleil Washington.
Well, there's the pressure from Florida State. They create the turnover. That's always where you want Washington faced up, running at the back line. Where's this Dempsey Brown, already frustrated with the no call originally.
EY is over it for the Seminoles. Looking for more after the Taylor Huff opener. This will be out for a Florida State throw. Dudley. Beckman watches it roll out of bounds.
Well, now the response is going to be so interesting from Wake Forest, because they're going to have to go for it. They're going to have to come out of this defensive shape. It worked well for them for the first 50 minutes, just to drop back, keep the play in front of them.
Keep stretching while you're going.
Florida State with the adjustments. Deep run out of midfield for Huff, as it's Murphy that's going to be brought down, earn the foul. But they are going to have to take more risks, so that's going to leave them a bit more exposed, stretched at times, and that's where Florida State thrives.
Colton. Just pass up. And now time for Get More, brought to you by Geico, as we take one more look at that terrific goal in just one moment. Murphy. And now Here's Get More, brought to you by Geico.
Oh, it all starts with the quick throw in. Dudley allows him to come across her body, and that opens up the space. But right here, just understanding that there's not a good angle or too many defenders, so she pulls it back, finds Huff, who's making the run, but the weight of the pass allows Huff to come on it first time, slots it with the side of her foot to that far post. That would be the difference, and what an excellent goal that was from Taylor Huff, but it started from Dudley off the throw-in. Give herself a little bit of time, but quality decision making.
And Taylor Huff, not only such a leader on the field, but certainly in the dressing room, isn't she, Marion?
Absolutely, Alex, and what a journey she has had in her collegiate career, coming over from Tennessee and then obviously wanting to challenge herself, goes and wins a national championship. But they lost so many pieces of that national championship side from 2023. The question was for her, who was going to help me? And, you know, guys, when they had so many call-ups for the U20 World Cup, they didn't lose a step because of what Taylor Huff was able to do on the pitch. But she was one of those players I mentioned who hadn't lost in a Florida State Seminole jersey since Wake Forest handed them that 4-1 loss earlier this season. And when I asked Brian Pinsky, obviously you guys are making tactical changes.
She might have a second now, right over the bar.
But when you're making tactical changes, Lori, you know this, you need a player to also chief that in the locker room. And I said, who was that for you? And he said, without a doubt, Taylor Huff. And I quote, a direct quote from the players, Taylor's the boss.
Yeah, in case in point, 10 goals, 9 assists on the season. I mean, a two-way player, and something Brian Pinsky said, she was always a two-way player at Tennessee, but needed to even make bigger strides here at Florida State. Well, she's done that and got the go-ahead goal tonight so far for this Florida State team. So really, the integral part of this Florida State midfield.
Dudley run into, and that is going to be another free kick here in a potentially dangerous spot for Florida State. Emily Murphy maybe knocked the wind out of Dudley.
Well, she's taken a few hard hits so far in this game and is accustomed to seeing quite a few of those. And it's one of the reasons why they actually went to this formation change. Yes, they had lost 4-1 to Florida State earlier in the season. That was the catalyst, but also to get Dudley, there's the hard hit from Murphy, to get players around Dudley. They're playing in the three front. At times she was so isolated across the three front for Florida State, and she would be numerically disadvantaged to 1v2, 1v3. So allowing more numbers around her has been key, and already seen how much attention she draws to herself.
Yeah, and the relationship with Washington has absolutely been integral to that two front since they made that switch. Jimenez is going to come over with EY over the ball. It's going to be EY. Lofted over the top for Dudley. And it was deflected off of Wake Forest for a Florida State corner.
Well, this is exactly what you have to do, is just try to put a little bit of backspin because it's too far out to really test Amaral from distance. You just need to get something on it to allow for those runs to develop. You see Dudley trying to go to ground. It does take a little deflection, so it sends it out for a corner kick. There's a great view from behind the goal of Dudley trying to get to the end of it, make connection to it. A little bit of backspin, though, from EY. Great idea.
EY again. Chested down by Dudley. Little backflip into Huff, but the flag raised. Pretty, won't count.
Well, since the opening whistle of the second half, it's been all Florida State. Set pieces, interchange. Dudley once again picks up the loose pieces. Offside is the call, but great awareness. Just trying to free up, a little trickery as well.
I wonder if we might be going to video review here.
Well, this is going to be a big decision either way, because for Florida State, they're continuing to hunt. There's the ball back in. Dudley's the one that connects it. I actually think that the right shoulder of Jimenez is going to be offside from this angle, even though it is a tough one. Well, look at this right here. Jimenez wise to such class to understand that Huff's coming in behind, just behind the back touch. Can't believe her luck. Jimenez immediately hand to her face.
Remember, the call on the field is offside. And Nicole Green was
The previous play is under review.
mouthing to Brian Penske, the Florida State head coach, that she is indeed looking at whether or not Jimenez was offside when she made that cheeky little flip. I mean, you're right, the awareness to know that Huff was right there and that it was a wide open net in front of her. But this probably won't take too much time, I think.
I'd be surprised if it is overturned, given that the original call was offside. I don't think you have a real clear look from at least the angle that we saw. It does look like Jimenez's shoulder is off, or at least the right side of her body. And regardless, this is off a set piece, but those are your two attacking mids getting themselves beyond the front line of something that we talked about going into halftime. More movement, at least to cause more problems and force that back three, or the three center backs for Wake Forest, to have to step out at different times. Well, those two coming out of the midfield for Florida State have caused a lot of problems. Huff getting the go-ahead goal, potentially could get a second one here. Love this from Dudley, keeps it alive on that far post.
That's a good look right there.
Yeah, it's a clear offside. I'm not really sure what's taking so long.
And so the call on the field stands. No goal. And so Florida State still holds on to this 1-0 lead.
Yeah.
All right, if you're Tony DeLuz, how do you get an equalizer here? Because it has been so heavily Seminoles in the second half.
Well, right. I mean, you get a little breathing room, so you got to use that as confidence, because you don't concede that second goal. Otherwise, that starts to be a deficit that you can't really get yourself out of with the amount of numbers that Florida State is pushing forward, but also the fresh legs that they can bring off of the bench to continue to keep up that pace in the attack. But at this time, you've got to get your best players. Hanks, you've got to, who's off the field right now. Actually, she's on the far side, excuse me, but you have to get Murphy on the ball more often as well. And if you have to play a bit more direct and see if you can force the back three for Florida State to face their own goal, then you got to go for it. But at times you have to keep possession, because the thing that you want is those back three for Florida State to be in possession. That's when you can step up your pressure.
The fall seasons roll on, and we've got the Field Hockey Championship. It's tomorrow at noon Eastern, and then the men's soccer quarterfinals Sunday starting at 2 Eastern. And the semifinals are next Thursday beginning at 5:30. ACC Network, the home of ACC Championships. Boston College and North Carolina in that Field Hockey Championship tomorrow. Hanks dancing. Brown. Zanton. Van Zanten, that is, poking it away. But she lost it.
Yep.
EY got there, though.
I was going to say, Van Zanten has been excellent. Timing, tackling, making her presence known. That left of the three center backs for Florida State. But that's exactly what I was talking about. If they can try to win it, Wake Forest higher up the field, they dispossess him initially, Van Zanten. They can win it higher up the field, then they can be off and running.
Looking for Hanks. Hanks to the byline. Too heavy. Kaya Hanks, what a season she's had. A team high and career high 8 goals with 7 assists.
Entering the match,
A player coming out of Hawaii, where Tony DeLuz told us not exactly the highest level of soccer you play on Hawaii, but they knew that she was going to be able to produce at this kind of level. And man, she really has, and only a junior, so she's still got one more year to hone her skills in Winston-Salem next year. She had a stretch of 4 ACC games where she scored 5 times with 3 assists. Has been as important as anyone to this resurgent Wake Forest team that missed out on the NCAA tournament last year, but is now fighting for a 1 seed this season. Whistle is going to go on Florida State this time. And anytime a team is down, not getting a lot of possession, Lori, these become so crucial.
Yep.
And kind of breath-holding time for Brian Penske in some ways.
At least cause havoc. It starts with the delivery, get it into the 18-yard box, keep it alive.
Shavoshi saw the idea, looking for that post run for Emily Murphy. Then probably send a cross back in, see if someone can head home the equalizer.
Entering the match for Wake Forest, number 10.
Murphy's going to take a seat, and Malika Mina's going to check in. We have not seen many subs at all for Wake Forest. This is the first. Trying to get something from Mina. Murphy!
Well, this is something that we haven't seen a ton of from Wake Forest, is being able to keep the ball pinned into their attacking half. We saw it a few times in the first, but not consistently enough to cause too many problems defensively for Florida State. But you can see they can be vulnerable if they're trying to clear it and you get the pressure immediately. It's Murphy there on the last attempt, keeping it on frame, forcing the save from Todd.
I wonder if Mina was like that secret weapon, because the last match that she played in was against Mississippi State on August 25th. Morrell off her line to collect in front of Dudley. Huff is asking for a call, pleading at that. Murphy, 1v1 with Puerta. Scythe. Malika Mina only playing 218 minutes this year, but that is the first sub off of the bench here for Tony DeLuz. Here's Huff, the difference maker in this match with her 11th goal of the season. Such an improvement as well for a player that was so good last year. It's hard to believe that she got even better. But when you talk about the production, she absolutely did.
Well, I think the biggest difference is she knew at times she was going to have to carry this team just because they had such few numbers available last year. I mean, that was a team that was stacked. So many players go on to play professionally, not only in the NWSL, but also overseas.
Jody Brown, Leilani Nesbitt, Chikini.
Yep. Olsen up top.
Yes, Beata Olsen, yep.
You just had so many players that were familiar with what it took to get the job done, to win in important moments. And she didn't have to carry as much of the load. Well, now, with so many new faces, 14 to be exact, 6 returners, she's had to be the one that carries that load and lead the team in necessary times.
Was there ever a situation at Virginia that you had to step into that kind of role? I know you guys were so good that you always had a pretty solid roster.
Yeah, not necessarily like this situation with Taylor Huff. I mean, my senior year, we had a really strong senior class, but we also had one of the best recruiting classes as freshmen that were really willing to and able to step in at the right time. So not in this situation, and also the landscape has changed so much. I mean, you weren't having players leave in the middle of the season, whether it was U17 World Cup or U20 World Cup.
Yeah, no transfer portal.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of changes comparatively, but a lot of credit, kudos to Taylor Huff, what she's been able to do in these 2 short seasons at Florida State.
I mean, you probably feel like in a lot of ways it's never been harder to be a head coach.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to be challenging, especially with more and more players going professional at younger ages, no more college drafts, so you've got a lot more responsibility as well, just the communication between the professional coaches. So there's just a lot of dynamics that have shifted, and some that are just going to take everybody getting used to. Exciting times ahead regardless.
What a ball to Dudley. Dudley cuts it back. Dudley! Just wide. It is going to be a corner, though. Quickly, Marion, you have something to add on that?
Yeah, one of the things that we just don't realize sometimes is when players go, you know, Laura, you mentioned we didn't really have players leaving in the middle of the season, but when they do go leave in the middle of the season, it's all or nothing, right? The fight for your country, they're going to play for their country, they're all in on that team. And you don't really know as a head coach how they're going to be able to integrate when they come back, and that's something that Florida State has consistently had to work on, and we're really just now seeing the cohesion be consistent for them.
There's Puerta. To one of those players that left, Taylor Suarez.
I think also what's interesting is just how are they going to return? Emotionally, physically, it can be taxing each individual. You know, it can take a toll in different ways, so you really have to be able to assess differently. And this is a player, Dudley, that was gone for the U20s, keeps herself on side, but watch this touch right there. Always looking for moments, and she can do it at top speed, just to cut so quickly to give herself some separation. Love that she's aiming for that far post. That's what led to that corner kick in the end.
Lori, what is the emotional toll of playing for your country, especially at that young age?
Well, one, you're representing the country, but then also it's just the energy that's put into a tournament. You play a game, you rest, recuperate, play another game, typically only a couple of days between each. So the turnaround between games takes its toll physically, but emotionally, consistently, Dudley goes again. Well defended. But consistently, it's challenging to prepare emotionally with a turnaround. It's not easy.
Well, this opens it up for Dudley. Dudley was looking for Hudson, intercepted by Brown. Puerta. Brown again. This is sort of relentless, though. A couple of deflections. Keeps it with Florida State still on the attack. This is how they wear you down.
Well, now it's the difference between fresh legs and not. We talked about just the one change from Wake Forest. Playing at this level, defending for their lives, really, for almost the entirety of that first 45 minutes. And now you get the fresh legs, the movement. Look at this. Just that final pass, Dudley knows, immediately head in the air, upset with that final pass, disappointed that it didn't come off, but some of the best interchange. And right now, Wake Forest defensively just chasing shadows because you've got the fresh leg, you've got the movement even more, and the separation now, when you're just a little bit slower to defend, get the better angle, and get the pressure on the ball, that's when the gaps open up, and this is where Florida State is always going to punish you. They have to continue to hunt for that second goal, create even more separation, because this Wake Forest team is not going to give up, even though they've been pinned in deep in their own half for all of this second half.
And staying with it. Wake Forest has just one shot in the second half. They only had 3 in the first, and their fewest shots this season back a few games ago against Duke with 7. So they're not even really on pace to get that 7.
Entering the match for Wake Forest, number 30, Anna Swanson.
It's unexpected. This is what Tony DeLuz and his team knew, and one of the reasons why they did shift, because they were hoping that they could create still a little bit more attack in those counter-attacking opportunities from defending well. They just can't even get out of their own half right now. But with Florida State and a full-strength squad, your starting 11.
And their high press is really taxing.
Yeah, and 55 goals on the season, despite everything that we've talked about.
We're 56 now after.
Well, yeah,
Huff.
Relentless is what we're trying to say, Alex.
Murphy. Flicks it out wide. There's the run at Johnson. Forward for Murphy. And Simmons had it read the entire time, but it does force a Wake Forest corner. With less than 20 minutes remaining here in this first of 2 semifinal matches in the ACC Championship here in Cary, North Carolina. And we are done. It's Duke and UNC.
Taking the corner kick for Wake Forest, number 3, Emily Colton.
It's been few and far between, just the second corner of the match. Can Wake make it count? Colton to the spot. Murphy. Took a deflection off of Van Zandt and now has to play all the way back to Chavalshi. Van Zanten steps ahead, and here she goes. Murphy, clean. Murphy. Ansbro. A little bit of life now offensively here from the Deeks. Difference in this one, Taylor Huff's 11th goal of the season in the 53rd minute. It's a precarious spot to be in, though, if you're Florida State, because you know that one moment of brilliance from Wake Forest, or something you really don't want, one mistake in the box from your own team, and we're even and potentially going to extra time.
Well, it's a good test defensively just to make sure that they're all tuned in, verbalizing exactly where each other needs to be, but then also to continue to hunt for those moments to try to get that second goal. Really deflate Wake Forest if they can. Right now, they still have belief, they still have some life in this team that they can get one back, tie this game up.
Yeah, but one thing about Florida State is they are not going to go down to a low block and park the bus. They're always looking for that extra one. Suarez almost got to it. I mean, they make it so difficult, though, to get out of your own half. It takes so much work. And a team that has only subbed one player all match. Now two with Swanson coming up. Dudley orchestrates, back to the middle, play on. Dudley's got to get back on side, though. And she does. Puerta, tripped up, and here's a Florida State free kick, that is, caused by Mina.
Well, I do think it's the right no call on Jordan Dudley. They defended her really well because they always have two players against her, but this one certainly is. Puerta right there. Mina's the one that comes in late and clear. No opportunity to be able to get on the ball or make the play. Cut back from Puerta. Draws Mina in.
16 minutes on the dot. Nicole Green stops the clock for what could be a potential nail in the coffin here for the Noles.
We've got Beckman, you've got Puerta, the one that drew the foul. Puerta looks like she's going to be the one that stands over it. In-swinger, trying to curl it to that far post. You've got Dudley, you've got Hudson on the field as well. So some dynamic players in the air.
Yeah, watch that run on the backside of Hudson standing in at 6'2".
Yeah, those are the moments.
I can imagine that's not how it went on the training ground. Or else that would have been an again situation.
Yeah, and I'm thinking when you're up 1-0 and you've got a lot of momentum, just serve that ball in. Really force Wake Forest have to defend. You let them off the hook.
Number 8, Marianela Jimenez.
All right, so a 1-0 lead now for Florida State over Wake Forest, holding on to that. Marion, in terms of the conversations that both teams had, how much has each team executed what they've wanted to see?
It's really interesting, Alex, that you point that out. If you just look at the succinct message of Brian Penske at halftime, it was pretty much get after them, and I think we can all agree that they've done that. It's felt suffocating down here on the sidelines, guys, for the Wake Forest players as they've tried to build, and that goes into what Tony DeLue said. It has there really needed to be focus on finding the next pass when they win it in pressure, and really they just haven't been able to connect the next pass. That's hugely credit to what Florida State has done in terms of their individual pressure as a defensive unit. But guys, I've got to give a lot of credit to Carissa Beckman in the second half. Her ability to read the play in front of her and anticipate the second balls has been a huge key to Florida State's ability to start their attack from a higher position.
Yeah, I completely agree about Beckman, and we've seen that actually all season long, and just been kind of like the player that goes quietly about her business in the center of the field. I mentioned coming in in the lineup, she's the player. If she gets her positioning right and understands where Colton, number 3 for Wake Forest, is at all times, it's going to allow for those other front runners for Florida State to take more advantage, take more risks in the attack. But we've seen that especially in the second half.
Dudley stays with it. Dudley goes down. No call. Beckman now. And Beckman has grown so much as a player, even just this year coming over from Texas A&M. Being with Brian Penske for a season has done her wonders in this system. Huff hunting a second to Jimenez. And it's the last touch by Florida State. She's offside anyway. This week, ACC Huddle starts the day at a special time at 2 Eastern from Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh with a 90-minute pregame show leading into Duke NC State at 3:30. And they're back at 6:30 to wrap up the afternoon with highlights and analysis. And then it's Virginia and Pitt at 8. After the game, stay right here on ACC Network for a full postgame show as well. Wake Forest looking for the equalizer to the byline, and they earn the corner.
Oh, it's a substitute. Suarez coming all the way back to defend. It does look like Wake Forest has shifted into a 4-back where they'd be a little bit more comfortable. This time, you've got players getting forward. It's Swanson that's come on as well, looking to go 1v1 and earns the corner kick.
Hanks. Ansborough. Chavoshi surveys and sends it over to the left side. Colton Lowe. And in the end, simple for Todd.
I'm just trying to look at the formation now for Wake Forest to shift, because you got to go into a preferred formation where you can get more players forward, and this has been more comfortable in playing in the 4-back. 3 players higher up the field more often, and the attack for them is something they're going to be more comfortable with.
Looks for the moment like Murphy might be the lone option, though, up top. Hanks is there as well.
Well, it'll be the 4-2-3-1, so they'll have Colton coming underneath, Hanks out wide right on this near side. But regardless, again, it doesn't really matter in terms of formation. It's just about finding those players, switching the play. You're still going to have to look for an open player. And one of the things that Florida State has done, because yes, they've had fresh legs, they've gone after it,
the match for Florida
they've been able to use their wide players really well. And it's slow, at times too slow for Wake to be able to shift out and get pressure on that wide player for Florida State, because they're sitting in between now the wide back and that winger for Wake Forest.
We're still waiting on Suarez to exit the field. Finally off. That's a animated conversation between Brian Penske and Nicole Green. Trying to get everybody on the same page here with less than a dozen minutes left. I mean, this is the postseason, though. Florida State had to play on Sunday, and they were able to get by Notre Dame. Not an easy win, though. 2-1 the final in the first round. Wake Forest has had plenty of time off. A week ago, they were able to beat NC State 3-0 in the finale. We're trying to reset the clock, as we're being told. Trying to add 10 more seconds onto the clock here. And now looks like we're good. And we're back underway. Murphy, dispossessed, and here goes Van Zanten. threaded through for Washington. Brian Penske pleading his case now with the fourth official, Jasmine Peralta. Someone he does not like. That was nifty on the other side by Anna Swanson, the substitute. Taking off the ball and now a foul.
Well, this is why they have shifted, because they feel like they can get the pressure higher up, and then it's going to force Florida State to make the decision on who's going to step out to their wingers. Something that we really haven't seen throughout this game for Wake Forest, and they get away with it initially on that far side, but then the second one, they draw the foul, able to earn the free kick.
Here's Chavoshi. Not left the field. Our next men's basketball game's right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. It's that old Army-Duke connection renewed. Cooper Flagg leading the Blue Devils against the Black Knights tomorrow, 6 Eastern. And then it's Tennessee-Louisville, that rivalry. They haven't met since 2018. They're squaring off Saturday at noon Eastern. Both games right here on ACC Network. You know it's the soccer postseason when you start to hear the basketball. That should be exciting. We're about to see Duke on the pitch, though. Women's soccer taking on North Carolina in our finale today. Not only is that one of the best rivalries in all of sports, not only college sports, as Jordan Dudley nearly takes out the scorers table, it's also right down the road for both schools. So I would imagine there's going to be a massive crowd here for the second match. You can already see on your screen how much blue is going to be in there.
More and more fans trickling in.
Royal blue and Carolina blue. Johnson to Murphy. Under 10 minutes left. Dudley gunning for a second.
Well done. Excellent job from Chavoshi. Just brilliant, brilliant work. 3v3 situation, and I was just about to say, Wake Forest, now with them be able to get pressure higher up the field, they're creating a few more opportunities, at least more dangerous balls served in, but this is what it leaves them susceptible to, is a numbers even situation for Florida State. Dudley goes direct, but Chavoshi keeps her feet moving. Excellent work defensively.
Good ball to Washington. They can go quick after those deep turnovers. EY refeeds. Washington to EY. That one's too deep. Hanks.
Great touch.
Oh, beautiful touch, and here she goes. Murphy looking to make herself an option to her left. 2v2. Hanks, 1v1 with Gilchrist. Communication was just off, and I wonder if their best opportunity there might have been to Hanks going for it herself.
Well, yeah, and Hanks, I think in those situations, needs to understand her ability, just go herself. It's just trying to feather that one through. It has to be pinpoint perfect. She starts the play, excellent first touch to be able to break herself out, and then they're off to the races. I think she buys herself enough time, cuts inside, just give yourself a shot, an opportunity, force the save from Todd. Instead, it's just an easy giveaway, misplaced pass. You're going to see another substitution for Florida State.
Peyton McGovern now coming in here for Jimenez. McGovern, the freshman from Bristow, Virginia. She started a lot when the 6 players were on international duty at the Under-20 World Cup. Johnson. Has been dangerous connecting up on that wing. That pass was off, but so was the clearance. Bolton. Johnson. What a move! And goal! Emily Morris, the equalizer for the Demon Deacons! And Wake Forest is right back in it!
With that goal, Food Lion is donating another 1,000 meals to local North Carolina.
Well, one of the things that we said about this Wake Forest team is they never give up. They're going to continue to hunt. They made the necessary adjustments to put more pressure on Florida State. There's the service, but look at that first touch from Morris. And then she just waits. Little cut to be able to get herself time right there. She's got the two defenders, not a ton of room, but she takes enough of it to get it past Todd to that far post. Excellent strike in the end to tuck it away to the far post to tie this game within 10 minutes. Excellent work, and we've seen this before. If you don't take your chances, you don't punish teams on one end, you keep a team like Wake Forest that has loads of belief, confidence, you allow them to stay in the game, they will find ways. Well, Morris does just that. What a wonderful strike it is to tie this game.
Emily Morris.
Something about playing the Seminoles, too. I mean, 2 goals on the season, both of them against Florida State. And this one absolutely massive in the 82nd minute. And we talked about Johnson being dangerous on that left side. She gets the assist.
And you could always ask the question of should they have ever changed their formation? Should they have ever, or should they have gone and switched a little bit earlier to give themselves the ability to pressure higher up the field? Because that's the thing that was missing. Really, yes, in the second half, but a lot during that first half as well. This is a Wake Forest team that has made themselves known throughout this season, picking teams off higher up the field when they try to play out. They never really forced Florida State into those situations. It allowed them to continue to apply pressure, but regardless, they kept themselves in it. Then you start to get the service from the wide areas, difficult to defend, but that first touch from Morris, excellent to keep herself composed and to buy herself that time to beat her defender.
Gut check time now for the 4-time defending champion Florida State. Huff. Looking for a handball. Not going to give it to her. Huff back from EY. Can the Noles win it at the death? Into the box. Simple for Valentina Amaral-Banks. She's played a good match to make 3 important saves. He's conceded once, just the 12th time that Wake Forest has this year. Bit of an unfamiliar spot here for Florida State. Now how does Brian Penske's side respond? We're going to stop the clock and another conversation. Just Emily Morris' second goal of his season. But with 5:55 left, we are deadlocked. McGovern. Win. EY finds it and whiffs on the shot. Wake on the counter. There's Washington catching up to it. Van Zandt can't clear. Murphy stays with it. And there's Gilchrist to clean it up. Just as far as sight, though. It's a little hectic for Florida State. Murphy.
Well, Murphy certainly has a knack for keeping the ball stuck to her foot. Just keeps bouncing her way.
It's behind Hanks. It settles down. Little Steve. Oh, Addie Todd.
Oh my goodness, what a save that is from Todd. Sees it the entire way, but it looked like it was Morris once again. Just falls to her perfectly. She got all of it, keeps her body over it. What a strike, but what a better save.
Murphy is ripped down. And free kick, Wake Forest. Demon Deacons have all the momentum late.
But once again, it comes from a deep ball from the wide area as they keep it alive. Almost, Hanks doesn't even see it, but right there, you see it land right to Moore. She can't believe her luck either. Hands to her head immediately. And this is going to be a really good look right here because through traffic, Todd has to get herself over, get the push off, two-handed save to keep it wide. Excellent work from the Florida State goalkeeper. A lot of confidence in his last 5 minutes or so from Wake Forest after the tying goal.
Inside 4 minutes now. Murphy rises. Hanks. There's Morris. She's feeling good. That may be a little too far out. In college soccer, there is no stoppage time like most every other level of soccer around the world. So once it hits triple zeros, the match is over. If it is still tied, we will go to potentially 2 10-minute overtime periods. And it is golden goal. First goal wins. Hanks around Van Zanten. Hanks to the middle. And who else? Gilchrist.
Yeah. Exact right place. Read it so well. Knew that once Hanks got to the inline, the only place she could go was for a little cutback ball. Read it extremely well. I'll tell you, the defending right now from Wake Forest, even when this game has gotten stretched, they've got players going forward, they've got players tracking back. Now it's going to be Dudley. The amount of attention that she's attracted in this game, some frustration setting in. She's the one that's called for the yellow card.
A yellow card has been assessed to Florida State's number 11.
So yellow card for
Dudley
dissent
in the 88th minute.
In the 88th minute.
It's Colton, attacking midfielder, tracking back, and there's some fight in this Wake Forest team. We've seen it all season long. I think the best way to put it, at times they're pests, because they're pests going forward. They get a lot of numbers forward. You can have a variety of ways that they can attack, but also just defensively. They're so stingy. They're willing to work for one another. Held on into this game, and now the last 10 minutes or so have been the better of the team with some of the better quality chances.
This match has such a different feel to it than the first part of this second half, where, I mean, Florida State, like Marion said, aptly suffocated. Wake Forest couldn't even get it out of their own half. But ever since they switched to that 4-back, and maybe it's a formational change, maybe Florida State sat back just a little bit more, but Wake Forest able to squeak through an equalizer from Emily Morris. And if we don't see anything here in the last 2:15, we're on our way to overtime. Marion, it looks like Wake Forest bench is up and cheering. Very different body language, right?
Completely, Alex. You mentioned the word suffocating, and that's actually what it feels like down here from the Wake Forest bench to the Florida State players. It's been very calm on the Florida State sideline. Honestly, it's been calm all game, but since that goal went in, the energy has changed dramatically on the Wake Forest sideline. They're even doing rally dances down here, guys.
Any that you might be replicating?
Absolutely not. You don't want to see that.
Florida State looking for a late winner. EY can tee it up to the back post. Huff! Touch evaded her. Just let her down, and now she's going to be called for the foul. I would say incredulous after that whistle. Here's Dudley. Has a run from Huff. Can't stay on though. Dudley instead threads it through the middle. Taken down in the box. And no whistle. But we are going to video review with 1 minute and 7 seconds left. Does Florida State have a penalty coming?
Well, it's going to be really interesting. There's Dudley. And I love the looks that Dudley's continuously
The previous play is
looking
under
for
review.
that time, just trying to play to her feet. I actually think this is a good no call originally. Both players trying to establish position. Washington does well, but she's outstretched. She's never going to be able to keep her balance in those situations, and the defender has the right to be able to challenge for that as well. I don't think there's enough in this to call this a penalty kick.
It has to be indisputable video evidence to give Florida State, really, let's be honest, the chance to win it with 1 minute and 7 seconds left, though, of course, Wake Forest would still have the opportunity to march down the field. What a start. I mean, we're only in the first match. We've still got Duke UNC coming. Oh, happy to be here. It's been an absolute blast. And I think what Tony DeLuz said, right, when we were talking to him, Marion interviewing him coming out of the halftime locker room, he said, look, it's a high-level soccer match. I think that's what it comes down to, right?
Yep.
I mean, these are outstanding players that are fighting for everything now that we're here in the postseason, especially being in the semis. Johnson, number 7 for Wake Forest. Is he tangling up with Washington for Florida State?
That's another quality look. Still don't think there's enough for either for this to be overturned.
Nicole Green is still giving it a long look. And here's the call. It's a no call. So it's upheld, and Kristen Johnson.
Both of you and I.
Kristen Johnson can take a breath. That has to be the worst position.
Yeah,
as a
just wait.
defender.
Yeah. Well, they done well. Did enough to make sure she didn't make enough contact to actually draw the foul. But those are the moments that this Florida State team's going to have to continue to look for, is get them in those positions that feel uncomfortable.
That's what we have here at the last 103. We don't see a goal.
1 minute remaining.
Potentially
in the
2
second
10-minute overtime periods. The Noles don't want to do that, though. Maybe they won't. Brown, EY. Washington steps in front of Hanks and turns. Huff can't get there. Warded off by Chavoshi. And now inside 30 seconds.
I mean, Chavoshi just continues to put herself in such good positions. She's influenced the game so wonderfully as one of the center backs, whether they were in the 3, now in the 4. We've seen that all season long, but it's been apparent against this attack for Florida State tonight how wonderful and how important she is to that back line for Wake Forest.
Bonus football here in Cary, North Carolina, in the first of 2 ACC tournament semifinal matchups. This one has had a little bit of everything, and Emily Morris, the hero for the Demon Deacons, trailing, and in the 83rd minute, putting in her second goal of the season. And what a 90 as we play into overtime.
Well, we've seen this from Wake Forest throughout the season, just their willingness to stay connected, the belief. They got a little bit lucky on that offside call that originally was a goal. Wasn't called a goal in the run of play, but still overturned essentially and kept it at 1, kept them alive in this game, and they took their chances when needed.
Plenty more soccer to come. Remember, it's golden goal, so one of these teams could be elated seeing the ball go in the back of the net. There's the opener from Huff. That made it 1-0 early in the second half, but Morris, the hero for the folks out of Winston-Salem. Overtime awaits here at Wake Med Soccer Park. Back after, depending on what coach you are and what players you are and how the match is going, would happen. Marion, what are you learning down there looking at both teams?
Yeah, I'm going to have to get back to you on Wake Forest here in a second, guys, but for Florida State, the message had a couple of different tactics involved, some of them involving throw-ins, some of them involving the goal kick pressing that they want to see, all of it with an underlying theme of rolling up the wing backs on the strong side, so shifting over on the weak side so the wing backs can roll up on the strong side ultimately so they can pressure a little bit more on Wake Forest's back line. But the mental message for Florida State was choices high, quality high, confidence high, and ultimately support one another because we're all in the fight for the same goal.
Marion, once you get into the tournament for you, like the SEC tournament, what is it like to play in these tough matches when you know everything's on the line?
Strategy goes out the window at this point. Obviously, there are some nuances like we just talked about, some small things where you think as a coach your team can get set up for success. But from a player's perspective, you take that, you lock it in, and then it's just a battle of who wants it more.
We're about to find out. And that's the beauty of the ACC semis. Ready to go, Wake Forest and Florida State playing here in overtime. The first semifinal to reach extra period since 2022. Both games went to penalties. UNC and Duke, and Florida State and Notre Dame. Three of those teams here this year as well in Cary, North Carolina. So glad you are with us. Alex Perlman, Lori Lindsay, Marion Crowder roaming the sidelines as we play to crown a champion on Sunday. Noon Eastern, ESPNU for the title game, but we still have to figure out who is going to earn that right to advance to the championship. Is it Florida State, Wake Forest, UNC, or Duke? Only two can survive. Lori, do you do anything differently here in overtime if you're one of the coaches? You treat it any differently?
No, I wouldn't say that you treat it differently. You understand that it's a pressure situation, as Dudley is going to be outside. But I think for this Florida State team, it is about continuing to put pressure, continue to try to drive Wake Forest back, because those first 30, 35 minutes of this second half, I mean, it was difficult for Wake Forest to even get out of their defensive half. So you've got fresh legs, you know that, keep pushing. There's a little bit more life in this Wake Forest team in the attack, so you just have to be mindful of that. Always have three players back if you're going to shift one of your wing backs higher up the field for Florida State.
Marion, what did you learn from the Demon Deacons perspective?
Exactly what we thought. It's all about aggression, it's all about mentality, but it's specific to how they finished in the second half. Really felt like they showed well in the second half. Later moments showed very well and really upped the aggression, and that's what they want to see continue on into stoppage time. And for them, there's an underlying theme here as well, guys. Pressing and making sure that Florida State feels that pressure on their back line.
And I think for the Seminoles, Brian Penske's going to say, guys, do what we did at the beginning of that second half. That was a team that looked like they were hunting a goal. They got their goal, weren't able to keep that result going, but they very well, you know, if they return to those type of tactics, could end it. Jimenez tripped over the ball, and hopefully she's okay. She gets back up. Hanks. Scythe. Looking for Colton. Van Zanten's there instead, and she breaks away with it. Playing it up to one of her target forwards, Hudson. Trickles back to Huff. Even numbers here for Florida State. Huff into the box and into the side net at that.
It all starts with Van Zanten just riding the challenge wonderfully on one side. Then you start to open up, and Huff is just gliding in those moments. Cuts out her angle a bit too much with that last touch. Trying to get her hips around it, but this into the side netting. But I like the direct play, the decisiveness just to go. One-track mind for Taylor Huff once she gets on the ball.
Here's Hanks. Looks like her legs are just fine. She's played every single minute today, though. UI shadowing Scythe. Goal scorer Morris Johnson. Gilchrist there could clean it up. Stays in play for Hudson.
And that ball's just got to be played. Just played into the space to allow Dudley to go 1v2.
That's a good ball, though, opening up some space here for Huff. Behind Jimenez. Huff comes back in to collect. Spun down, and it's clean.
Because the one thing that we've seen throughout this game is once they get set Wake Forest defensively, then they're going to get numbers back immediately.
This time it's served in the box. Dudley, handball.
Yeah, so waiting to serve or trying to build up with numbers a little bit slower hasn't proven to be advantageous for Florida State in the attack. Go quickly, just whip that ball into space, give Dudley the opportunity to get on the end of it. Instead, you allow for Wake Forest to drop numbers back, and time again with Shavoshi at the heart of that defense, coming up with big plays, getting stuck in defensively.
Gilchrist picks it out. Up ahead, Dudley. Looking for help, had it from Huff. Wake Forest is there. Big collision as Dudley goes down. And so does Murphy. And we play on and carry.
Yeah, they look like big challenges, and they absolutely were. But I think it's the right two no calls to allow the game to continue on.
Huff still to her left. Shavoshi dives and makes the play. Huff. Win.
And the reason why I say I like the no calls is because we've seen all of these challenges be 50-50 challenges, both players going in shoulder to shoulder.
And now the clock is stopped with 4:21 to go. Brian Penske wondering what's going on. And we're going to see a video review. I wonder if
play is under review.
Nicole Green heard something from one of her ARs saying, hey, you should look at this. Because play continued for a long time. It's not really like advantage was being played in some ways. So looking for possible violent behavior. The only question is which challenge was it, because there were a couple that maybe could be looked at here. Remember, there were no fouls called on the field. So you can see Nicole Green has a plethora of angles to choose from. We're kind of watching along with you there through their heads, trying to see which call. Now, whatever it was, didn't look like it's taking very long. And it was Dudley's foul.
Well, we're fairly certain this is the one that's being reviewed. And listen, okay, originally I thought it was more of a 50-50 challenge. That should be called a foul in my opinion. Dudley's late, but I'm not sure that's a violent infraction.
I mean, enough to warrant a yellow card?
Maybe a yellow card for sure, but it's a player that's going in. She ends up being a little bit late. She's taking a ton of challenges herself. There's any ill intent.
Remember, Dudley is on a yellow card as well, and there's nothing there. So that's why that's so scary for Florida State, is because if Dudley gets a second yellow that gets upgraded to a red, you're playing a man down.
Well, and if you move on, you're also playing the next game without
good point.
On your
of
best
course.
or your best attacker.
So there was a lot going on right there, a lot of ramifications. So Florida State will have the ball once we restart. with 4:21 to go on the drop ball. And that is all settled now. Simmons playing up for Huff. There's Hudson. Dudley couldn't get on the end of it. Huff can. Huff from long range. And that's going to take a deflection. It'd be a Florida State corner.
Taking the corner kick for Florida State, number 7, Ron Ewa.
Ewa to tee up the in-swinger, looking to put Florida State into the championship game. Dudley rose to meet it. All the way out now to the sideline. Win. Jimenez. Now Beckman out wide. Beckman. Dudley. Jimenez. Into the body of Swanson. Was it a handball? Florida State is pleading for it.
I like the nipple. I mean, it's close range. Comes in off her stomach, maybe hits a part of her hand. Continue to play on.
Really close range there. Murphy looking for Swanson. EY catches up to it. And now 2:45 to go before the end of our first of a potential 2 10-minute overtime periods. Remember, this year it's golden goal. First goal in, a match is over. If we're tied, go to PKs. Johnson. Up over the head of Murphy.
Well, it feels very similar to the way that the second half of regulation felt, which is Florida State in majority of the control, pushing players forward, creating the attacks. They have to continue to go because there's not a ton, it looks like, with Murphy up top in the way of legs left in this Wake Forest team, except defensively. So got to continue to send players forward.
Wind slips, but Beckman picks it up. Yeah, you do wonder. I mean, Wake Forest has a full week off, but you know, at the same time, they've only used 2 subs. They've only had 42 minutes coming off the bench. Scythe. Turned over, Dudley. Has Hudson as well. Jimenez. Dudley cuts in and earns Florida State a quarter with just over a minute left. Just about going to be the final play of this first overtime.
1 minute remaining.
We can talk so much about Dudley and her ability to get in behind, get the ball to her feet, but this is the little touches that she takes to be able to create some separation between her and a defender. Excellent work in tight spaces.
Does Florida State have a late winner in them? EY. Not on the corner. Back out to EY and the flag's raised. Didn't get back on. And now only 22 seconds remaining. And I would not imagine that Wake Forest is have any onus to push this forward too fast. Because my premonition is correct.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
and so we've got
1,
potentially
0.
10 more minutes to decide this match
At the end of the first
in overtime in the run of play, or else
Florida State
we are going to
Seminoles
penalties. I mean, Lori, did we
Wake Forest
learn
Demon
anything in the
Deacons
first 10 minutes?
Well, we learned that this Florida State team has fresher legs, especially at the start of these overtime or the second half. So, again, it is not always about tactics. It's like, what can you do, the littlest details to...
Versus number 3 seeds here in the ACC Soccer Championship. Alex Perlman, Lori Lindsay, Marion Crowder with you here at Wake Med Soccer Park and ready to get action back underway. If you're tuning in looking for North Carolina and Duke, we promise don't go anywhere, it's coming. But first we have to decide who is going to take on the winner of that one in the championship on Sunday afternoon. Florida State has certainly been the aggressor. First overtime period, 4 shots to 0 for Wake. And not surprisingly, when you've only used 2 subs, you can tell that they've got some tired legs out there.
Well, and how much tired minds as well play into that. That's why you have to find those little margins that can be used to your advantage. And Florida State, Huff's willing this team on. You got Dudley's making the runs as well. So continue to go, and then you can make the substitutions necessary throughout the next 10 minutes.
Soleil Washington checking in for Rihanna Hudson here in this overtime period. Washington got to break the entire first touch. Now Washington hounded by Ansbro. Swanson came over to meet her as well. Beckman, some stick-to-itiveness there. Florida State really the only team that has been hunting that winner. Wake Forest, you feel like it's going to be okay going to penalties and seeing what their fate might be there. Ewai. Dudley. What a save. Jimenez pops it back up and on top. You know, Amaral ended up making it look somewhat comfortable in the end. Really could have been pretty dangerous.
Well, she read it really well because she had to come over, but the EY-Dudley connection on this left-hand side, because we've seen what Dudley likes to do is just peel out to this left-hand side, get faced up, and then she has ways that she can influence the attack, side-footed ball across. Doesn't need much on it. Jimenez just trying to flick that over in the end.
You know, all of that made possible because Ansbro was trying to jump to put Dudley offside. And it ended up not working out. But a nice save from Amaral. Here they go again. Dudley! Dudley! Right into Amaral. Anywhere else, Florida State is celebrating.
Well, she's going to be disappointed with that because it was an excellent ball from Jimenez. The recognition initially to be able to take the space, and then the little slip in the end that opened up the space for Dudley to get that ball off of Jimenez.
Still Jimenez to the back post, finds Huff. Washington, Dudley missed, and Jimenez missed as well.
Which is the composure that's letting Florida State down. Everybody's trying to be the hero instead of just keeping it on frame, simplifying it inside the 18-yard box. Well, here's the first ball from Jimenez. There's a little bit of a slippage. That opened up the space, but then right there, just gets it away from her, comes across her body, allows for the 3 defenders to come back, and Amaral in the end to make the save because it's put right back to her. And then there's the first attempt from Dudley, and then the follow-up has to stay on frame. Just make and force the save from Amaral instead, just into the stands.
Go quickly to Dudley off the throw-in. Here's Huff on her first goal already. Travoshi steps in. Van Zanten. And Dudley couldn't stay on.
Well, the recognition that's missing right now for Florida State is if there are tired legs from Wake Forest, then you can't keep forcing it down to one side. Switch the play, go out the other side. They're going to be late if you're forcing them to chase. Right now, the first line, though, the first tackle is too easy for Wake Forest because everything's kept right in front of them, and they force down this one side, this near side right now.
Mina came in for Brown as well for Wake Forest, or about to happen. Here she comes. So Mina back into this game, and she'll
entering the match for Wake Forest,
take the
10,
6th spot there in that
Mina.
like-for-like substitution. But 5:46 to go. Remember, Brown will not be able to come back in here in this second overtime. Murphy to the byline. going to be a goal kick. Thought that she might have gotten a deflection. Could see what she was attempting to do there. Both teams with 6 shots on goal, even though Florida State has 17 to Wake Forest is 8 in terms of overall shots. The Seminoles are trying for their 5th straight ACC Tournament Championship. Wake Forest hasn't been to the final since 2011, but it's been an historic year in Winston-Salem for Tony DeLuz and his Demon Deacons. Todd out to collect.
And if you're Todd, I'm thinking go quickly, go quickly. Like you have a player down. They got caught on the end when Todd's coming off her line. It looks like it's Simmons that's the one that's down.
Simmons is cramping.
I'm not even sure there was connection between Todd and Simmons. Just
I think just
as you
cramp
said,
there,
yeah, cramping. Yeah.
I mean, who can blame them? It was about 80 degrees at kickoff. And
We were hot.
There's high humidity right now. Although you were the one that chose the cashmere sweater.
Well, it's November. It makes sense.
Dressing for the calendar.
Makes sense.
And so Simmons is going to get tended to here with 4:48 to go in this second overtime period. Yeah, they're massaging out the calf there. Brian Penske's going to make sure everything's okay. I heard stories of him wearing shorts in weather that he probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah, in College Cup, this tournament last year when it was much colder.
I was talked out of wearing shorts today, personally. I was told it wasn't fall-like. Really regretting that decision because I don't really feel like 80 degrees is fall-like either.
You are definitely dressed for maybe 60s. Let's put it that way. Taking Simmons a long time here. Although in a lot of ways you can't be surprised. I mean, these players have given it everything. She has played all 105 minutes. And yes, she's one of the 3 center backs in the 3-5-2, but I mean, with the way that Florida State plays, you are flying up and down the pitch. This is for the right to face the winner of UNC and Duke. You do not want to go anywhere. I know many of you have probably tuned in wondering where the Blue Devils and the Tar Heels. Plenty of fans are going to be making the trip from Chapel Hill, not very far, and neither is Durham. This is going to be a spirited second match. No question, but we still have to decide.
Entering the match for Florida State, number 9, Taylor Suarez.
So Taylor Suarez is going to enter here for Simmons. Here for the final, just about 5 minutes. We will have that second semifinal for you when we are finished with Florida State and Wake Forest. And at this point, it very well might take the dreaded penalty kicks to see who advances. EY finds Washington, holds up against Scythe, intended for Dudley. Huff, Beckman tripped on the ball. Huff wants a whistle, gets absolutely none from Nicole Green. Over Huff's head. 4 minutes left. And the flag is raised. Wake Forest has already taken down Florida State once. That was a very different match. 4-1 on October 3rd, ending the Seminoles' 32-game unbeaten streak. So there's a little extra coming into this match as it is, as Ansborough down to the turf, and now there's some extracurriculars around the ball. And we are going to have a yellow card. Washington is booked. third yellow of the match, second one on the Seminoles.
A yellow card has been assessed to Florida State's number 28, Soleil
That
Washington.
time, yeah, Washington just a bit late in terms of trying to establish their position. Bring Zanesboro down.
UNC and Duke in the tunnel, eagerly awaiting to take the pitch themselves. Voshi, 3:40 to go. Gilchrist is there. So is Beckman. Mina. Dudley has to hold up and now has some runners joining. Yeah. Dudley's taken down. This has to be a yellow card.
Absolutely.
Clearly impeding her path, but really a necessary one for Ansborough.
Oh, it's a wonderful turn from Dudley, John, Mina, and Ansborough.
A yellow card has been assessed to Wake
Knew the
Forest
space was in
number
behind.
34, Laurel Ansborough.
Got the step, and then Ansborough, nothing that
minute.
she could do except to two-hand wrap around Dudley and pull her down.
Back-to-back yellow cards here for each team in the 107th minute. And 3:14 now on the clock. EY stands over it. Now Jimenez. Jimenez. Savoshi. Suarez plays it up for Dudley. Poked back. Beckman looking for win. Too heavy. Less than 3 minutes to go in our second and final overtime. It took a clinical turn from Emily Morris to even get us to this point. In the 83rd minute, when it looked like everything was going Florida State's way and they were going to cruise into the final, this at times very plucky Wake Forest team has not gone away at all, even though you can tell how gassed they are. Handball going on Murphy. Was with the full Irish senior national team in training camp back in 2021. She's got a very bright future for the senior, originally from Windsor, England. EY. Huff for Jimenez. Morris, the goal scorer, pokes it forward. That foul is going to go on Florida State, though. Maybe a last chance for Wake. And 60 seconds
1
remaining.
minute remaining in the second overtime.
First, Emily Morris has to tie her shoe. Chavoshi. Oh, that's a good ball in. Really well done. Good defending and a corner coming now. They're gonna have to take it quick. Scythe gets to the flag. 30 seconds left here in Cary. Wake Forest trying for the late winner, and they're looking to make this potentially the last play of the match.
Number 3, Emily Colton.
Colton stands over it, 15 seconds left. Colton delivers the outswinger. Headed away.
7, 6.
Last chance for Wake Forest goes begging, and penalties await in our first semifinal of the night.
At the end of the second overtime, the score remains the Florida State Seminoles.
Huff has not taken a penalty this year. To get Florida State started. She does it! And immediately advantage Demon Deacons.
Well, it's not much of a run up, and then you can see it doesn't. Emerald guesses the right way, but almost has to come back across because it's not a well taken penalty kick from Huff. It's right down the middle, makes it easy for Emerald.
So now it's up to Addie Todd. Team scores. Dempsey Brown follows up Huff.
Well, there's a bit of a long pause. I thought maybe she was trying to throw off Todd, and it just comes, and you can see the approach, just always leaning back, so her body, when she makes the connection, ball's always rising, doesn't keep herself over it, gives Florida State, after Huff missing that first one, a bit of life back to where we started.
So shockingly, both teams miss. Heather Gilchrist. And it's she follows through past Amaral. 1-0 FSU.
Well, this is the commanding run up. Gilchrist just knows exactly where she's going. Amaral guesses one way, she goes the other.
Next for Wake
Keeps
Forest,
it
number
low,
13,
tucks it away.
Emily Morris.
Opens up the scoring for Florida State.
And now all the pressure falls on the shoulders of the Wake Forest goal scorer, Emily Morris. All right, so after 2 misses in the first round, the second nets us 2 mates.
Well, a lot of confidence for Morris, and rightfully so. She gets the tying goal, almost gets the game winner, forcing a big save from Todd, and this one just steps up.
She has had a great night.
Yeah, closes her hips at the right time. It's a wonderful looking penalty kick.
Just like we started. Now here is Ron Ely.
Next for Florida State, number 7, Ron Ely.
The 3-year starter in her final season, last ACC tournament. Ely beats Amaral, despite some hijinks from someone in the crowd.
And just so composed. This is the best penalty kick that we've seen all night so far. Just at the last second, you can just see, waiting for the goalkeeper, just opens up her hips.
Beautiful.
Even if Amaral would have guessed the right way, I mean, look at that. It's perfect into that far corner.
Next for Wake Forest, number 3, Emily Colton.
Emily Colton trying to match. She's taken 1 PK, and she made it. And she did it that time. Addie Todd saw 1 clank off the crossbar, and this time she's up to the challenge.
Well, typically in these moments, the conversation is the kickers have the advantage. They'll take care of business, but they ask the goalkeeper to at least make just 1 save. We saw that for Amaral in the first one against Huff. This time, Todd comes up huge. Keeps herself low, guesses correctly.
And this will really put Florida State in the driver's seat. Soleil Washington. breathtaking PK we've seen.
What a oh my goodness. Yeah, a lot of people up off their seats after that one. Well, she doesn't even need much of a run up, just a couple steps, but that is perfect. Just top corner. Thank you very much.
Potentially one more moment left here in Wake
Next for Wake
Forest
Forest,
season.
number 35, Emily Murphy.
Murphy needs to bury this. She is 1 for 1 this season from the penalty spot. Addie Todd stops her, and Florida State's run to a 5th ACC Tournament Championship in a row continues. Knowles into the final on Sunday.
The final of the penalty shootout for Florida State's Seminoles versus Demon Deacons. Congratulations.